What's up, guys? This is Future Us just coming in to say that this video is going to be split into two separate days. One day our camera died, and that's just how it turned out. Plus, there was a lot of content. We didn't really have the time to record this all in one shot, but we're just letting you know that. So,
Peace!
ladies, gentlemen,
Welcome to another video. So we got some suggestions about making football-related content, so like NFL, college, about like news and rumors. So today we're going to be breaking down the latest news and rumors around the NFL.
This is going to mark the first episode of a new podcast that we are starting on this channel. It is called NFL Heat Check. So, like he said, in these videos, we're going to be just discussing any news, rumors, free agency, just updates in general. Just,
Our predictions. Somewhat.
Yeah, just stuff that we think is going to happen. Anything like that. Anything football. That's what we're here for. So
there's a lot going on in the next 2 months as far as the NFL.
Free agency, draft. It's going to be a fun one. So can't wait to bring you guys along on this journey.
The combine just got done.
Also. That's going to be an interesting topic. But let's get started here with the first topic. What do you think about the trade requests that just happened? We have Myles Garrett early on in the offseason. Tell me what you think about that. Tell me where you think he's going to go. And then also, DK Metcalf just requested a trade from Seattle once he learned, I think, that Tyler Lockett got released. I think that was a huge deal to him. So just tell me what you think about that. Tell me what you think is going to happen there.
Yeah, those are two very big trade requests that went down. They're not like average players in the league. They're both
definitely
elite for their positions. Myles that's interesting. The Browns say they're not going to trade him as of right now. Me personally, I don't really know. I'm not really sure about that one right now, like how to feel. I feel like it could go either way. He could get traded, but we shall see. I feel like he's worth probably like 2 firsts, somewhere around there, a first and a second. And I think there's going to be a lot of teams interested, like the Commanders. I've heard the Eagles, the Lions, teams like that. So
I think about the Myles Garrett situation. As the market sits right now, I honestly think that he is maybe worth like a first and a third. I think realistically, now am I saying that he's not a terrific, outstanding, like best defensive end player in the league? No, because to be honest, he is probably the best defensive end in the entire league right now. But is he worth multiple first-round picks? Probably not, realistically.
I agree. I could see a first and a third, like you said, or a first and a second. I mean, 2 firsts. It's a bit much for the money that he's going to get paid. Also, as far as the DK, I would say, from what I'm seeing as of today, when it came out, it's looking like they're gonna look into trades.
Yeah.
So I feel like that there's a good chance that happens, and I would say he's probably worth like a second and a third, somewhere around there.
I agree. I'm right there with you. A second and a third is probably, if it were my team and I was your GM, that's what I would give up for him. I think he's got plenty left in the tank. I think Seattle is just looking to move forward with Jackson Smith, which I think is not a bad idea. He flourished last year in their offense, and DK and Tyler Lockett, we'll discuss that later, but they were both under a completely different scheme under Pete Carroll. That was Pete Carroll's offense. Now, with, isn't it Mike McDonald? I think they're completely changing the scheme and the realm of this team. I think they want to draft their own guys that they actually see fit on their team. So I think getting rid of DK at this point is probably the best option. He wants to win. I think anybody wants to win. And that's another thing. Myles Garrett said he wants out because he wants to win. And again, that situation, I don't know if it'll happen or not. Speculation right now. But The DK stuff, I can definitely see going down. They want to draft their own team. They want to restart.
I think, like you said about both of those, both teams are kind of in a rebuilding phase, and I think that's more motivation to leave. Whether the teams actually end up doing it or not is to be, we'll see. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk destinations. So, Myles Garrett. We've heard a lot on the media about Myles Garrett to the Lions, Myles Garrett to the Raiders, Myles Garrett to the Eagles even. Commanders I've seen as well. What do you think is the most possible trade destination for Myles Garrett? And then we'll talk DK after that.
I think Myles Garrett overall, when you throw in money and where the team's at, I mean, you could definitely vouch for any of those other teams. I mean, maybe not the Raiders, in my opinion, because of the situation they're in. I don't think they're quite there.
I agree.
But I feel like the Commanders is probably the best spot for him as far as the situation that he's in.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so personally, with the Myles Garrett situation, I could see him going a few spots. Commanders definitely being one of them. He wants to win now. He's got a young quarterback who can do it. Now, that's not saying he's not going to do what C.J. Stroud did and have an incredible rookie year and then kind of a downfall. I mean, not many rookie quarterbacks go 12-5. Let's just be honest. So,
and success in the playoffs.
Agreed. They're not going to do that their whole career unless you're Mahomes or Tom Brady. So, do I think Jaden Daniels has it? Absolutely. I absolutely do. However, is that what Myles Garrett is looking for? I think yes. Absolutely. He has a young quarterback who I think is going to hold up. I don't think he's going to do what C.J. Stroud did and kind of have an off year. I think he's going to keep up. I think he's going to be the Commanders' next best thing. With all of the, trading for receivers, which we'll also get to later, I think in Washington they're trying to set up a very contender.
While he's under his rookie contract.
Yes, a very, very Super Bowl looking team. Almost did it last year. Myles Garrett added, I think you have it.
I feel like that just makes the most sense for him as far as the everything goes, money, and where the team's at right now. I mean, you could, like we said about the Eagles and Lions, they're right there clearly, but I just feel like, well, the Eagles won it. But the money situation, I just don't feel like that's realistic as much in my eyes. And the Eagles also, you got to figure they already had arguably the best defense in the league last year. So I don't think it's really necessary for them.
The whole Myles Garrett to the Lions thing, would I love to see it? Yes, absolutely. I would love that for them. They've sucked for 30-plus years now at this point. So would I love to see that for them? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen? Absolutely not. They would be in cap hell in a few years. I don't think they're looking to re-sign a guy like that. I think they could possibly get somebody in the draft. Do I think they will? No. I don't even think they're going to go in that direction in the draft. I think with Aiden Hutchinson coming back...
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
They have... I think that they have their pieces in place to do what they want.
I mean, this isn't, as far as like the video goes, this isn't really what we're talking about, but I just want to throw in there, me personally, I don't think Goff is the guy to win there for him, win the championship there. I mean, they can get through in the regular season, but as we've seen the past 2 years, he can't get him over the hump, especially this past year, losing first round of the Commanders. That was ugly, so that's just my opinion there, but...
I can agree with that. We will get into more speculation on that later in the video. What, just random things that we think will happen or future talks or whatever. I can see where you're coming from there. But again, we'll talk about that later.
We'll get to DK.
Yeah, let's move on to DK. So I'll let you speculate first on what you think possible destinations for DK and what the package would look like.
I would say there's definitely going to be a lot of teams interested because I feel like he's in the prime of his career right now. I mean, he's probably going to get paid, but with not having to give up a first-round pick, and it's not what it's looking like at least, I would guess there's going to be multiple teams. So I would say receiver needy teams out there right now that are somewhat contenders, I would throw out maybe like the Bills, maybe the Chiefs, possibly. Maybe the Steelers.
Yeah,
Even like the Ravens, someone like that.
I definitely could see that. Ravens maybe a little less likely. They have some younger guys, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. You know, I think they have their pieces for now. DK, there is a few places that he could go, in my opinion.
Or it could be to a team that's like not quite there. They're close.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
not the Steelers, but like another team like that. It could be that's also right pretty close that they feel. But I don't really know who that could be.
So, the possible destinations in my book, I could see Raiders, personally, taking him back to Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll likes the guy. And
That's valid.
I'm not just saying that because they have a past or whatnot, because we've seen that with Russell Wilson rumors on social media, everything like that, these false rumors. I am not just saying that because they have a past. I am saying that because simply Pete Carroll loves this kid. He drafted him. He was so excited to see that he got such a big, fast receiver. I think the thing that did this was when, who was it? I think Russell Wilson maybe threw a pick a couple of years ago versus the Cardinals, and he ran it back and caught the guy before.
Caught Buda Baker.
He is just showing that effort and that want to play the game of football, and I truly think that Pete Carroll wants a guy like that on his team.
Yeah, and I don't know what you said. You said about Pete Carroll, and I want to add on to that by saying about Russ.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a good chance wherever Russ ends up, or Pete Carroll, obviously, the Raiders' new head coach, I could see him going wherever Russ goes, whether he stays in Pittsburgh or goes to somewhere like the Giants, the Raiders. We can get into that more later about Russ.
I agree. And for Pittsburgh, would bringing back Russell Wilson increase the chances of bringing in DK Metcalf? We just don't know.
I mean, I would say for sure.
I think there was definitely a higher chance, but right now, I mean, just how do you know? How do you know? Because
I feel like it's the unknown because it just came out
Yeah.
today, so we don't really know much. But in the coming days and weeks, because we know how these receiver trades and just trades in general for the big superstar players, they take time if they actually come out to something. So
right. I have two other destinations for DK, possibly. I think the Chargers. I think the Chargers are right up there. I think McConkey, Justin Herbert wants another target. DK is solidified as one. He's solidified. He's not going anywhere. Well, he's going somewhere, but you know,
maybe.
So the Chargers, they have a few tight ends. I think they're gonna let Everett go.
But you got to figure they got Quentin Johnston and Lon McConkey.
They have Quentin Johnston, but is he that wide receiver two that
Wide receiver
the
one.
Chargers are looking for?
We're saying wide receiver one here. So I would say they drafted him to be their wide receiver one. I don't know if he is, which I see where you're coming from.
I think as it stands right now, he's not even top two. I don't think that Quentin Johnston is a good fit for the Charger offense. I think he would be a good wide receiver, possibly elsewhere. I just can't see him being a wide receiver 1 or 2 in a Chargers jersey. I think that having DK Metcalf and McConkey beside each other, both on the outside, McConkey's fast. He proved himself last year
as
as
a modern day Cooper Kupp.
He is a true wide receiver. That's just it. He's a beautiful wide receiver. He is beautiful. And he's so fun to watch. He's flashy. He gets the job done. DK Metcalf, same thing. Big-bodied receiver. Aggressive, fast. I think he's perfect. I think he would be a perfect fit for the Chargers. My last destination for DK Metcalf. You're going to hate me here, but I could see the Chiefs possibly trading something for him, even if it's this year's first. They have pick, 31?
31, yeah.
So I definitely could see them trading that pick. Maybe a late, like 5th or something with it.
I could see it. The only reason that would definitely not be my number one spot as of right now is just because I feel like the Chiefs, they're pretty strapped on money right now.
I agree. I mean, letting go some of their O-line, definitely.
Thuney. Which is another trade that just happened. Thuney to the Bears for a 2026 4th-round pick. That went through, was that today or yesterday?
I think today. And then Trey Smith, who's also, he's gone now.
No, they franchise tagged him. Chiefs franchise tagged him.
Yeah, I sound dumb. I'm going to restart that. So, I think the Chiefs, they definitely cleared up a little bit of money with Thuney, which was today. Franchise tagging Trey Smith, it's definitely a huge piece of money.
But
going up $20 million from what he had, it was 3.4. Now he's making 23.4. So
but you got to look at it though. They franchise tagged him and didn't give him the long-term deal for a reason because they're unsure about money in the future. I feel like next year they're probably gonna have more because I feel like Kelsey, if I had to predict, this will be his last year. If I had to guess, so that'll free up at least 15 to 20. I'm gonna guess.
I agree, and I also think that Kelsey's decision next year is going to be based on, is the team falling apart? Personally, I think the Chiefs are going to start falling apart now. That's just speculation. I think their O-line is obviously with everything happening. Do they still have good pieces? Yes. And their coach is very talented.
I also saw that it's looking like they're going to let Justin Reed hit free agency.
I saw that as well, and again, speculation right now. But I do think their team is going to start crumbling. Their wide receiver core crumbled.
They got Worthy.
Tyreek Hill left.
They got Worthy, though.
They got Worthy. But, I mean, is he that guy? He was fantastic.
I think he proved it in the Super Bowl, but
he was fantastic.
He's their only option right now in my eyes. So,
do I think he's another Tyreek Hill? I mean, he could be.
I think he could be.
He could be. But, again, who's the number 2 right there? Because you saw DeAndre Hopkins in the Super Bowl. Wide open pass. Just dropped it. That's not the DeAndre Hopkins that went up and caught that ball over 10 bodies. That's not the same D-Hop. So, I definitely think they're going to let him walk. That's another Kadarius Toney situation all over again.
Probably going to let Juju walk.
Juju's probably going to walk. I think Juju could maybe chase money. He did not have a bad Super Bowl performance, in my opinion. I think he did play well. All the playoffs. I think he played well. But anyway, back to DK. Kind of got off topic there for a while, but again, that's why that's my third destination. I can't really see that happening.
What did you say your first was? The Raiders?
My first was the Raiders. Just seeing him back with Pete Carroll and under Pete Carroll's offense, I see that happen.
I can see it. All right, we're going to move on to our next set of news and rumors today.
Cuts.
All right. We'll move on to cuts next.
So, I think the biggest cut that I personally have seen, Davante Adams. That's huge.
Undoubtedly.
As we know, the biggest release for the Jets early in the offseason, the Jets announced that they were going to move forward from Aaron Rodgers. That was huge. Obviously, Davante Adams is not going to like that. Going into another rebuild, I don't think that's something he wants. He was in that situation with the Raiders. It's pretty messy.
I think with Davante, it was more the money because I saw it was like a 30-some million, like 36 million cap hit. It was going to be.
I agree.
So they saved a lot of money there, I know for sure. So I think that was the main reason. And the Jets are in a weird spot right now.
I was going to say, either way, do you think that he would be okay with staying in a situation like that? I personally don't think so.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like he wants to win, but people, they've been saying about him following Rodgers. I don't maybe it's not even really a prediction. I feel like just more my opinion. I don't think he should follow Rodgers. I think he should try and go to a winning team like the Chiefs, somewhere like the Bills that need a receiver. My opinion.
I agree. I think Aaron Rodgers is at that stage in his career where he would be a very good backup. He would be a good QB coach, like coaching.
Rodgers won't settle for that, though.
I don't think he will either. But again, what NFL team is looking towards a 40-year-old starting quarterback?
I think he's like 41, actually.
Yeah. What NFL team is looking for a 40-year-old starting quarterback? I just don't see a situation.
Yeah, I mean, his stats weren't terrible last year, but he just was not the same player. And that was clear by the Jets' record, even without watching the tape.
Aaron Rodgers wants to play football, I think. But if it comes down to it, and nobody gives him that starting job, do I think he'll retire? Yes, I do. I think he'll hang it up.
I mean, I've been hearing a little bit of interest, but I mean, I agree with you. I feel like if the interest isn't what they say it is as of right now, I mean, you don't know because he's not. I guess he could sign technically right now, right?
Yeah, he could.
Free agent. But yeah, I feel like the interest, who knows where it's at, truly. But I mean, I've seen the Raiders, the Steelers a little bit, the Giants. Seems like that.
A little bit of everything for Devontae. And
yeah, getting back to Devontae.
to be honest, I mean, again, same situation with the DK trade. There are possible destinations. I do not see he's not going back to the Raiders. That would never happen. Even if Pete Carroll is the coach, I don't think that's enough to sway his opinion on them. That's out of the picture. Do I think that Devontae Adams would take less money to start winning football games? I personally do. I think that he would take a pay cut to be on a contending team. Teams that I could see fit, would he go to Baltimore and team up with Lamar and King Henry? I think that is a very possible destination. Now, I look like a hypocrite. I said that they weren't really in the spot for that because they already have their pieces. But again, that pay cut, Baltimore would be willing to do that. It's Devontae Adams we're talking about here.
I could see Devontae playing for like 15 to 20, or I mean, it might even be a little bit less.
It could be less. It could be.
I've seen a lot about him going to. He either wants to play for Rodgers, from what I'm hearing, or about going out west and playing for a team like the Rams or the 49ers. That's what I've seen.
Yeah.
He said he likes it out west. He has a home. I don't know if it's in Las Vegas or where it's at, but I know it's out west. So
I agree.
We shall see.
I could see that. What else do we have here?
We'll move on to some other recent cuts.
Tyler Lockett, same thing. Again, Seattle is moving on from their pieces. They are okay with DK seeking a trade. They're okay with obviously cutting Tyler Lockett. He has been a very loyal receiver to them. I think last year, I believe he had his least productive season.
Yeah, for sure. I
his
mean,
career.
I haven't watched too much on Tyler Lockett this past year, but from what I can tell, he's not near the same player that he once was. And I don't think it was about the money either. I just think they just wanted to move on.
Yeah, I think it's time. He's kind of in that. When Adam Thielen went from
Or
team
like
to
an
team.
Allen Robinson.
Yeah, I can see. That's kind of what's happening with Tyler Lockett.
Which is unfortunate, but
He's 31 years old at this point. So, I mean, obviously receivers don't hold up that long. They're not made for longevity. Really.
not in today's league, I don't think.
Not in today's league. You can move on from a receiver. You got plenty of young guys in this draft. You got Luther Burden. You've got...
There's a lot of good
Isaiah
receivers
Bond.
in the league today.
I agree. And I think that's one reason why they moved on. Possible destinations.
He's going to get very minimal money for sure, I would definitely say. Probably no more than $8 million in my opinion.
I agree.
And it's going to... I don't know. I mean... Clearly, this just happened today, along with the DK trade request, so we don't really know too much, but it's kind of speculation. He could go and try and go to a team like the Chiefs or who knows? I mean, the Bills, any winning team,
Just win on a vet minimum
he
contract.
just wants to win. But clearly, we don't know his intentions as of right now. We're only assuming.
Yeah, I agree. I could see that happening. Another thing that I can see happening is if Lockett does not get, I think he would be pretty grateful for any team that wants to pick him up right now.
I feel like he's a good guy.
But if he doesn't get what he wants, I could see him almost waiting till midseason, not getting signed at all, until midseason next year, and then just getting signed for, I don't know, maybe a wide receiver 3 or 4. If you look at Pittsburgh, they could go get somebody in the draft. They could trade for DK. They could trade for anyone.
They could sign someone in
They
free
could sign
agency.
someone. However, if we're going down the road and they have GP and maybe a rookie, Calvin Austin,
Roman Wilson.
Roman Wilson, kind of unseen
Very
last year,
questionable.
what would they do? I think that
If they
they're
have Russ,
midseason,
I feel like I want to just add in there that I saw Russ made a post about when Tyler got cut, so I could very, very easily see Tyler going somewhere wherever Russ goes. I could see it. I feel like they like each other a lot, and I could see it as him to be the third or fourth guy, like you said.
I agree. About the whole Pittsburgh thing, I think that if Pittsburgh is winning ball games and they go out there midseason, or they could be desperate. They could be throwing desperation calls and pick up Lockett as maybe something. Like, maybe there's something left in him that they're looking at. Do I think there will be? No, I don't think. To be honest, destinations right now, it's kind of slim for him. I agree with the Russell Wilson thing. I think wherever Russ goes is probably where Lockett will follow. Again, we think he's a good guy, so he's probably just going to stick with morals and values here towards the end of his career. I think he wants to retire happy, so I think that's possibly what's going to happen here.
And you said about you think he might not sign until like somewhere in the middle of the regular season. I mean, I would say I don't think he's going to be one of those guys that signs like day one of free agency or anything. I mean, he could sign right now because he got cut. But I would say somewhere soon before the draft, like in the coming weeks after free agency starts, I could see him signing. Or after the draft, because teams want to figure out where they're at, considering he's not like a number 2 anymore, I don't think.
One other possible destination for Lockett that I could see. I've thought about this since he got cut, but even trade rumors back then, I could see Cincinnati. If you think about this, money-wise, they don't have it. But again, Tyler Lockett, on the end of his career, he would take a vet minimum.
To be the third or fourth guy.
I think he wants to win. You have Jamar Chase. You have T. Higgins, who just got tagged. I think that Lockett would be a fantastic, perfect fit for the third spot in Cincinnati.
It's valid. Because he's not going to get much money, and that offense, they're all about playmakers. So
I agree.
All right, we'll move on from that to another guy that just got cut today, Christian Kirk.
Christian Kirk.
He's an interesting one.
This is one of those guys who I could see as an Allen Robinson type of. Listen,
I don't think he's there yet. I think he's still got a little bit left.
I can see where you're coming from there. I just don't think teams are going to value him as much as the other options out there. I just don't think Christian Kirk. I think he is. He's younger.
He's about like 28, 29.
Something like that, but again, I just don't think he has what he had in him. I think that dog of Christian Kirk, which personally I have never seen.
I agree. I don't think he's ever been what he got paid for. He got $18 million like 2 years ago from the Jags.
The contract was a surprise.
It was absurd. It was like one of the craziest things that year.
Honestly, I just don't think. What I think could happen is he is just going to go off the face of the earth. Honestly, I do. I think what is going to happen is he is going to be one of those guys where he's decent, he's decently rated, everything is fine, and then he's not going to get signed ever again. I know it's harsh. I know it's probably very, very odd sounding, but that's what I think is going to happen. I think he's just going to be one of those guys, man. It's situation-wise, nobody really, and he's not as fast as other people. He can catch a football, but is he really what teams are going to search for? No, I don't think so.
I also want to add to that. I don't even know if you know this, but he got hurt mid-season.
Yep.
He was going to get traded from the Jags. The Steelers, from what I heard, they had a deal basically done to bring him in, trade for him, and now he just got cut. So, I mean, out of any destination, I would say they're up there for the most likely.
They are up there. Again, Steelers, they need a bunch of pieces.
Definitely a receiver.
There are a few teams. The Raiders need a bunch of pieces.
A lot of teams.
Yeah, there's so many teams out
he
there
could be
right
a
now.
3 on, or a 2 on the Steelers as of right now. I think he'd be a 2.
He could. I could see him going to the Bears, too. Caleb Williams, I mean,
I think they're going to try and stack that offense.
I agree. After trading for Joe Thuney, I think that offense is what they're going for.
And they traded for that other guard from
Jonah Jackson, yeah.
Yep.
I saw that. It didn't work out in L.A. like he thought, so trading for him, I think the Bears, they could be good this year.
Yeah, I think they're going to get that offensive line right. I could also see the Bears taking a tackle, or I don't know what they need exactly, but maybe they won't go O-line in the first round, but I think they'll try and get another offensive playmaker.
We'll have to see on that. But again, Christian Kirk, I think that's a possible destination for him, if any at all. So we'll move on from that. Our next piece.
We'll move on to new contracts that guys have got recently. So Saquon, he just got a new contract yesterday.
Well deserved. Congratulations to you, Saquon. Best running back in the game right now.
I think no one would question that. Yeah, so basically, if you guys don't know, he just got signed by the Eagles actually last year for, I don't know exactly the contract, but it was like 3 years, $13 million a year.
That was big.
And now he got it adjusted. Clearly, I don't know exactly how it works, but it's now a 2-year. So I think 1 year from last year got taken off, so it's still only 2 years left. But he got over $20 million a year. He got like 20 point something a year. It's 41 over 2 years, so.
Yeah, definitely deserves the pay raise there.
Yeah, I agree.
Who else do we have? Max Crosby.
Yeah, Max Crosby. He just got a monster deal. He got $106.5 million over 3 years, $35.5 million a year, which is the highest non-paid quarterback in NFL history.
That is a bonkers contract.
What do you think about that?
I think Max Crosby deserves money.
I agree.
I hate, though, that the NFL contracts keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't think he deserves all that money.
I couldn't agree more. I feel like it's making it so I personally don't feel that he's even the best edge rusher in the game.
I don't either. I think, again,
so what are guys like,
they're
saying about TJ Watt getting extended. They're saying about clearly Micah Parsons is going to get it.
He's gonna
Myles
get paid.
Garrett, I think, is soon up.
All these guys are going to get paid.
And they're better, in my opinion.
What does that look like? What does a contract like that look like for those
40?
more productive guys?
40 for a non-quarterback? Like, what are we getting at?
It is going to be insane. I think the contract he deserves money, but I think the contract is bonkers.
I agree. Also, we got one more. The Cowboys defensive tackle.
Odigizua.
Yeah. Weird name.
I definitely... he played out of his mind last year. Do I think that he deserves that contract?
He got $80 million over 4 years, so $20 million a year. That's a lot for a D tackle.
What are the Cowboys going to do when it comes time to pay their other pieces? I mean, they paid CD.
And Dak, like I sent you earlier today, he got his cap hit for this year is like, did I say it was $89 million?
Yeah,
right?
it was $89
It was more than Lamar and Josh Allen combined. Back-to-back MVPs right there.
One of the biggest cap hits I've ever seen.
Yeah, the Cowboys, I mean, I think they do some things right, but sometimes with money, they're just, I don't know. I don't see what they're seeing, but
I do think that he was a good signing, though. He's a fantastic defensive tackle. I think he's going to flourish in this league. Do I think he's worth that much money already?
You know how old he is? Probably young.
He's young. Very young. I think he's early 20s. Early 20s.
It's understandable.
Maybe 24. Maybe. That's a rough guess, but I think he deserves money again. That much? It's kind of questionable.
To stay with his own team, also, you got to add in there.
He had one good season so far. Now, that's not saying that he's not going to be good for the rest. Again, speculation. But does he just fall off like some guys that I've seen in the past?
And be average.
You just never know.
You don't know.
So, contracts, that's kind of basically the stuff that happened. What do we have next here?
Okay, so we got two guys that got tagged, T. Higgins, and we also Trey Smith, which we already talked about a little bit. But T. Higgins, that's a massive one.
A few inches later.
All right, so this is day 2. So on to today's topics. Yesterday, I think we left off on some franchise tags. We left off on T. Higgins, and there's some more news out there that Christian Kirk actually ended up getting traded for a 7th-round pick to the Texans, and
Jonathan Allen got
released. That is pretty huge as well. What do you think? I mean, we all know the reason why Jonathan Allen got cut. The Commanders wanted too much for him, and they couldn't get it, and it's going to save them a lot of money. He was definitely worth a lot of money. So, what do you think about that situation, possible destinations, and then we'll talk about the Christian Kirk situation after.
I mean, I would say he's a very experienced veteran, and he's still a pretty good player overall. I mean, I don't think they got rid of him because of his talent. It was more the money, like you said.
Yeah.
And as far as destinations, I mean, there's a lot of teams that need D-line for sure. Off the top of my head, I know the Bengals just lost multiple guys. The Steelers definitely are weak at D-tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that could use him, I'm sure.
I agree. I think, again, the Eagles could pursue a guy like him. I know you said the other day that the Eagles have the number 1 defense in the league, which statistically that is correct. Would they like to add a piece like that? I think yes. With the defensive tackle situation there and the re-signing of Zach Bond, I think it's definitely, it would be a great thing to have for them, especially as a Super Bowl contending team like they have been, consistently. So I think that's possibly a destination for him there.
Yeah, their D-tackle, I think his name's Milton Williams, the guy in the Super Bowl that had a big game. He's I've seen on different boards now that T. Higgins and Trey Smith have got tagged that he is one of the best free agents they have him as. At least that was on NFL Network. That's where I saw
Indubitably. That. So let's move on to the Christian Kirk situation now. A little bit on him. They were gonna cut him, but I guess they found that they could get something for him, and the Texans have done this before with Joe Mixon. They are not new to this kind of last-minute trade situation, getting them for really cheap. What are your thoughts on that? And just let me know your intel on that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, as we were saying the other day, we didn't know how much he had left in him, and clearly the Texans felt pretty good about him to give up a draft pick when there was no more interest. They definitely wanted him.
I agree. I definitely think that was a good move. Probably on both sides, just clearing up things with the Jags, and then the Texans getting a receiver that could have something left in the tank for just a 7th-round pick. I think that's pretty good.
And I think that also tells us that them keeping Stephon Diggs is very well in question.
Yeah, his future in Houston there is definitely questionable. It's definitely up for grabs. It's kind of...
He's a free agent.
He is a free agent, so it is... pretty unlikely that they bring him back, actually. So, yeah, definitely an interesting one.
Do you want to get to talking about free agents?
Yeah, we can get to talking about free agents. So, let's see. I'm probably going to cut this. We're just going to. Come on.
Yeah. All right. So getting to free agents, like I just said, actually, Milton Williams, D tackle for the Eagles, he's only 26, and they have him as the number one free agent on the NFL app.
He definitely had one heck of a season.
And to end it with the Super Bowl, he had a big game.
He did have a huge game, and he was one of the main reasons that they won that Super Bowl like they did. Just playing terrific defense there. Very valuable piece. I think he's going to get paid.
Yeah, very interesting guy because he kind of came out of nowhere, at least in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you didn't really hear anything on him.
To be honest, I couldn't tell you like where he came from, where he got drafted.
No,
if he got drafted, I could not tell you a single thing about him. He just kind of came out of the blue and he started playing well. I mean, that's that Eagles coaching.
Yep.
You know, you really had good coaching there last year. Again, losing those coaches is going to be huge for the Eagles, and it's also going to be a huge factor in does he want to play there again? You know what I mean? So
what do you think the money situation is and the team maybe?
I mean, you have to think, yes, he had one hell of a season. But again, it's been one season. So how much is the make or break deal? Like, is he going to get okay, let's see how you are again contract, or are they just going to pay him and pray to God that they did this right because they really need him back? He was a great piece for them.
My prediction personally with him, I mean, if he doesn't sign with the Eagles, which clearly they're tight on money, so I don't see them giving him a large amount of money. So if he doesn't sign with the Eagles, I would say he's going to get a good chunk of money from another team. That's my prediction. I'm going to say somewhere in the range of like a 3-year, like 15 to 18 million a year deal. I mean, maybe 18 is a little high, but in that range.
And you have to think too. You said about the Steelers' defensive tackle situation. Do the Steelers take that money instead of getting a 31-year-old and Jonathan Allen? Do they take the boom or bust with Milton Williams here? I mean, I think it would be a good pickup for them, a young piece for them. I think it would be great for their future.
Yeah, I said about the Bengals before. I don't think they're really in the cap situation to bring a guy like Williams in.
I agree. With the franchise tag of T. Higgins, I mean, it's kind of up in the waters right now.
And I just thought they're giving
Sorry. His name. Reset.
What's his name?
Hendrickson?
Yeah. They're giving Trey Hendrickson the option to seek a trade. That just happened yesterday, I'm pretty sure. That's interesting. Kind of forgot about that, but that's a very big deal. That's up there with the elite players like Myles Garrett and DK that we talked about yesterday.
I could see something going down. I saw something on the media today, I believe it was on ESPN, that there is a situation where he does get cut. A player like that
should never get cut.
I could never see a player like that getting cut. But again, that Bengals organization, what are they willing to do at this point? And, how far are they willing to go for guys that just want out?
See, you say about him getting cut. I kind of saw the opposite, actually. Ian Rappaport, I saw him talk last night, and he basically said that there's going to be basically around the whole league, there's going to be a ton of teams interested in him. And clearly, I'm not going to say the value is going to be higher than a second or a third, but there's going to be interest, in my opinion.
I agree. I think that there definitely should be something up for him because he is, like you said, up there with Myles Garrett and, the rest of them guys. He is a very valuable piece in the defensive market, And I think he would be a tremendous player for any team that he goes to. He's going to be an instant impact.
Yeah, he's had 35 sacks in the last 2 years.
Yes, he
That's
has.
very impressive.
It is impressive.
He was in contention for a DPOI, and
Again.
it was legit. It was legit.
Yep, I think that too, and yeah,
Hard to
instant
tell.
impact.
There's no predicting where he could go as of right now, but there's going to be interest, we think.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we're going to move on to some more free agents here. You want to move on to Ronnie Stanley?
Ronnie Stanley, huge left tackle for, I mean, pretty much any team could use him and probably start him at tackle, I think. Huge player for the Ravens. What are we thinking about that situation? Does he stay in Baltimore? It doesn't look like it as of now.
I mean, it's up in the air. I mean, hard to tell. I don't think a guy like him, especially if he stays in Baltimore, I don't think he's going to get very much money. It's more just to stay with that team and try and compete for a Super Bowl. But, it's really hard to tell.
I agree. I think that a guy like him at the point in... yeah, it's hard to tell. I think a guy like him at the point in his career that he is, I think that he's definitely viable to chase the money. I think a lot of teams at this point could use him. I mean, you have Dallas. Again, they're not in a great cap situation because of Dak's, cap hit. However, they just lost Zach Martin, which was a huge piece for them. Do they possibly figure out something for their O-line? I know Ronnie Stanley is a tackle, but do they try and make something work with that O-line? I mean, they need it.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I was thinking they have a late round pick, and the good tackles are going to go pretty high, as usual. Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of a situation where they're not going to get a really good tackle in the late first. So, I would say keeping him would probably be the move, and that's probably what's going to happen. That's my prediction.
I agree.
I don't know how much money. I would say he's not going to get more than like 15, I doubt.
Yeah, I can't see a guy like him getting more than 15. I mean, for a tackle, it's hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely is elite.
Yeah, he's up there. Sure.
So it's hard to say at this point, but other destinations kind of up in the air right now.
Until Monday, of course.
Yeah, I guess we'll see in free agency, but we'll have to stay updated on that. Let's move on to the next player here.
Monday at 4 o'clock, by the way, guys. That's when teams can start talking to free agents, and Wednesday at 4 o'clock, I'm pretty sure, that's when they can actually be official. But we can know contracts before then, for to actually go through.
Definitely excited, and on, I believe, Thursday, we should have a update video out on this, just free agents and day one moves and stuff like that. So
we're real excited.
Yeah, definitely a fun one. And with all the free agents and releases and trade rumors and everything stirring around like that in the NFL, it's definitely a fun one to pay attention to. So let's move on here. We have Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat. It is
another Eagle.
It is, yeah. They have a lot of pieces that I did not even know about were free agents, but Josh Sweat I didn't know about. What happens with Josh Sweat? I mean, I've seen a few different things. He could go to Chicago and be with the guy that drafted him.
They're trying to compete, Chicago. As you can see, over the last few days, they've got two legit guards. They're trying to win.
They definitely want to protect Caleb Williams, and they want to see him flourish like he did in USC and be that quarterback, that Patrick Mahomes-like quarterback that they drafted him to be.
Yeah.
So, again, I saw rumors of Josh Sweat going to Chicago to be with the guy that drafted him. The main reason why, and on that point, when the guy that drafted him, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but when he was with Philadelphia, Josh Sweat had the leading amount of sacks on the entire team. And after he left, he kind of went down in the sack region. Pause. What? So, on that note, does that affect like what Josh Sweat's motives are, and what is Chicago? What would they be willing to pay a guy like Josh Sweat?
Yeah, I don't think. Do you know if he got any like good amount of money so far in his career?
I am
don't
unsure.
think so.
I don't think he has had the
Much.
big contract like he is about to have. I think he's definitely going to chase the money.
Yeah, he's 28. He's coming into his prime. I think that's one of the guys that the Eagles may lose.
Yeah,
Very well
I
lose.
agree. And I do think that the Eagles could get back Williams.
Over him.
However, I think Josh Sweat is one of the pieces where he wants to go to something new. After winning that Super Bowl, I think he thinks it's awesome, but he's chasing the bag now.
Yeah, I agree.
So moving on to our next piece here.
Let's do Darnold. Where we talk about
I think we covered Darnold. We can still talk about him, though. Darnold,
I want to throw something out there with Darnold. I've seen in the past few days, Darnold, it looks like the Vikings are really trying to get a deal done with him, which is interesting because what happens with J.J. McCarthy if he signs?
yeah, J.J. McCarthy's future definitely up in the air there in Minnesota, especially if you sign a guy like Darnold back again to a big contract.
He's gone.
JJ has to request a trade or do something to get out of that situation.
And I think if that would happen, I think a lot of teams would be interested, and I think it would be a first-round pick.
I agree. I think I'm not sure about the pick. I think maybe
Second, maybe.
it could be a second, just because of durability in his rookie year. However, again, drafted so high, J.J. McCarthy, I believe he got drafted 9th overall by the Vikings.
Yeah.
Either 9th or like 12th or something like
10th,
that.
yeah, somewhere
Very
in
high in the first round. What would teams be willing to give up for that? And again, will J.J. McCarthy even want to sit behind a guy like Darnold for a couple of years? I really don't think so.
No. The more that I think about it, it's kind of interesting. The teams up front, like the Titans, the Browns, the Giants, maybe they become interested in that situation and say, we'll give up our second and keep our first to draft another elite player and get McCarthy. You never know.
That would be the ideal situation, I think for
so.
McCarthy.
And the team.
Yeah,
And the other
the
team as
Vikings clearly succeeded with Darnold in the last couple of weeks. I mean, yeah, he had some off games. In the playoff game, that was not his fault at all. So I definitely think that they have a future with Darnold, and I think JJ would thrive in his own offense. I think that maybe Minnesota wasn't the place for him. Maybe they drafted him by just if Darnold didn't work out.
I don't think they planned on Darnold working out. So
I mean, Darnold, he went into Minnesota as the backup. McCarthy was going to start
day one.
Day one, as we said a couple days ago, McCarthy was the number one going into training camp. But again, Darnold just flourished in their offense, and they really never expected him to. Again, leading to J.J. McCarthy's fall off here in Minnesota.
Yeah, I think Darnold, I don't think he would be the same player in any other offense, in my opinion. So I think it'd be best for both sides to sign Darnold.
I agree.
To a fair contract. I don't think he should get a ton. Speaking of money, as far as Darnold, what do you think he should get?
I was just going to say, I can't see him getting more than 30. I mean, just the player that he's been in his career, from his past with the Jets, with the Panthers, getting, I believe, cut from both teams. What is the situation like? I just can't see him getting over $30 million a year. However, I'm not saying that he's a bad quarterback by any means, because last year, again, he flourished under that offense. But again, would he flourish like that anywhere else? I just don't think so. I think that he's just going to take what he can get from them.
You know, I agree with you totally. It's kind of crazy. I've seen things where they have his projection at $41 million a year, somewhere in there.
I've seen that as
which
well.
Which is crazy, I feel like. But I feel like if he's going to stay in Minnesota, it's going to happen before Monday at 4 o'clock.
I agree.
I would say if it gets after that, another team's going to give him a good amount, and it's going to really shake up the quarterback situation in free agency as far as what other teams like the Raiders and Giants do if he gets signed by the Vikings.
I agree. Moving on to our next player, though, we have Chris Godwin. All right, so Chris Godwin here. I can definitely see Chris Godwin going back to Tampa Bay. I mean, with his age being 29, he's hitting that point where I definitely think other teams would be interested, but I just don't think that other teams are going to see him as loyal as Tampa Bay as he's been all of his career. So
Yeah, I think Tampa Bay, they'll give him a fair offer. I feel like it doesn't really change it for me with him as far as if he gets to Monday. I don't think it really changes. I still think that compared to other guys, if he still is not signed by Monday, I think he still has a good chance to come back to the Bucks. I think he's going to be loyal. And the Bucks, they're going to give him a fair offer, and I could see what you said and him staying in Tampa.
I agree. It is actually pretty up in the air what he could get right now because that point in his career, he's 29 years old again.
But he's a very solid player.
He's been very productive over the past couple of years, flourishing this year with Baker Mayfield as their quarterback. I think that offense needs to stay what it is and stay put.
Yeah, I agree. His money could go anywhere, really. I mean, I think he's going to get, if he stays in Tampa, he could stay for like 18, I feel like, at the lowest, but I feel like he could get upwards to like anywhere from 20 to like 24, 25 million.
I agree. I think that he's definitely worth something around that. Again, very productive player. Over Mike Evans this year. I think he deserves it as well. I think he's a great player, very productive, gets the yards. He's very tough and physical. So definitely worth that. Now let's move on to a guy that is over Darius Slay, in my opinion, in the free agency list. Carlton Davis. We'll do both Carlton Davis and Tarvarius Ward here.
We can do all three, and DJ
Reed. So what would you rank those three among cornerbacks? And also, what do you think those guys are going to get? And we'll do possible destinations as well.
So compare them to each other in general.
Yeah, so out of those three top guys there, and if you include Slay in there, what do you think is the best option and why? And also, where do you see them going?
With where the money's at right now, those guys are all projected at about 14 to 16 million, if I had to guess. That's where they're all at, about the same spot. And then Slay, it's kind of unknown right now, but I think he's gonna play for like 8 or 10 million with some team, try and win a Super Bowl. I think they're pretty similar players, like talent-wise. I mean, definitely they all play different style of game, but I would prefer DJ Reed personally. I think has shown over his tenure with the Jets that at one point he was probably him and Sauce were the two best corner duo in the league, probably the best. So, and then I'd probably go Carlton Davis and Tarvarius Ward. And if you want to throw Slay in there, I would say Slay is up there for the best one, but depends what situation you're in. Like if you're a team that needs a corner, but you're not quite there to win it this year, I feel like you go with those other three younger guys compared to Slay. If you're a team that's ready to win, I feel like you go with Slay on the 1-year deal for less money because I think he's still got a lot of talent. But
yeah, I definitely agree. I can see where you're coming from there on the DJ Reed thing. Clearly, Sauce and DJ Reed were the probably number one corner duo in the league. However, if it were up to me right now, purely based on talent and effort, I, shockingly enough, would go Carlton Davis. Carlton Davis, he's very quick off the jump. He is very good in man coverage. Very good. He's tremendous. Out of those guys, I believe that he's the best in man coverage. Tarvarius Ward is more of a zone playing corner. He kind of lacks off of his man. He can get burned pretty easily. And DJ Reed, he's also pretty good in man coverage. However, I just think Carlton Davis, with his speed off the rip, I just think he has more than any of those other guys. And again, if you put Slay in there, I do think Slay has juice left in the tank. I just, again, what are you willing to do contract-wise there at the age that he is at and at the point in his career that he is at? What are you willing to do? I would put Slay probably in the 4th slot. I saw him get burned a couple times this year, including in the Super Bowl. In fact, there was a moment, I forget who the tight end was, but he got burned by a tight end, and that really was the telltale to me. And again, what does he have left? It's hard to say, but out of those guys, I would definitely choose Carlton Davis.
Respectable. It's interesting because these guys, in my opinion, I don't know how you feel about them, but I feel like these guys are all gonna, whatever team they go to, they're gonna be the number 2 guy, and I think they're all I'll throw Slay in there. I mean, was more of a number 1 in Philly, but at this point in his career, he's more of a number 2 in my opinion. All these guys are very interesting because they're like some of the best number 2 corners, in my opinion, in the whole league.
I agree.
That's why they're going to get 14 to 16 million, in my opinion, depending on the interest.
I think these guys at their point in their career, except for Slay, those 3 that we mentioned, 28 and 29 years old, I think they're looking for a spot to possibly contend for the number 1 spot in corner, and I don't blame them. I definitely think that they can do that very easily. All 3 of those guys, very talented group. So I think wherever they go, we'll talk destinations in a second, but yeah, I definitely think that they can deserve a contending spot for number 1. So let's talk destinations now. DJ Reed, I mean, all these guys could go to a couple spots. Again, Pittsburgh needing a spot.
Yeah, big time. Number 2 corner. You
have guys like the Lions could use corners there. There are many spots right now where guys like that could go. I see Green Bay. I see even the Jets needing.
Green Bay is definitely big with losing. Did they cut Jair yet?
I don't think so. I don't think they parted ways.
But it's looking like it.
It's looking like it could happen. But again, where are some destinations for those guys, and who do you think is going to go where?
So I just want to first point out that out of the 4 guys, clearly Slay got cut, so him and the Eagles are done.
Right.
But DJ Reed, I think he's the only one that could re-sign with his own team. I feel like Carlton Davis and Travarius Ward, they're going to be moving on because of money situations. Of course, the Lions and the 49ers, pretty bad cap situations. So yeah, I think destination-wise, DJ, I feel like they're all kind of, like I said, they're all number 2 corners in my opinion. I could see any team being interested in all 3 actually. So the teams that I'm going to mention, I could see him getting any of the 4 even, maybe even Slay, throwing him in there depending on the situations. So like you could get like the Steelers, you could throw the Steelers in there, the Bills, Chiefs, trying to contend, of course. That would be more of a Slay situation. The Ravens, I could see.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. For me, honestly, right now it's kind of at a seesaw for me. I don't know where these guys are gonna go. I could see one of them possibly choosing Pittsburgh. They can see themselves as the number 1, number 2 option, contending there with Joey Porter. So definitely a good situation for them. I feel like these guys have the upper ground right now.
Yeah, and more what I was saying was more about Slay as far as the Chiefs and...
Right.
But, yeah, Pittsburgh, I feel like they're definitely going to be in the market to get one of these guys. The other cornerback needy teams, do you know who they are?
Off the top of my head, I'm not really sure. Like I said, the Jets could need guys, especially if DJ Reed leaves. But again, we think that he's going to stick around.
Yeah, I think he definitely could.
So, honestly, right now, these corners are kind of just up for grabs.
Yeah, the only reason I could see DJ Reed moving on is because I feel like the Jets, they're at a spot where they just got rid of Rodgers, and where are they picking? Do you know what pick they got?
I believe they are 7. 7, yeah.
But it's not at a crazy high spot where they're saying we're going to get a top 3 quarterback guaranteed. I mean, I think there's only 2 quarterbacks that have a chance to go top 10 personally. But, yeah, I don't think they feel that they're ready to win. So I could definitely see them moving on from DJ Reed because they're definitely going to pay Sauce, as we know.
Yeah.
So,
I
don't think they're going to give their 2 corners good money, both of them, to not win.
I agree.
I don't think so.
All right, so let's move on to our next piece here. All right, so moving on now, we have some wide receivers in the market. I believe we talked about these briefly the other day.
Davante Adams, we did.
Davante Adams. We also have Amari Cooper. What do you think their situations are? We had some talks about Davante Adams possibly following Aaron Rodgers, but again, if he's not that number 1 option, what does Davante do? And he flourished in Vegas, I believe, in my opinion at least, just didn't really have that quarterback that they wished, and he got frustrated and wanted out. So again, what do you think his situation looks like? He probably wants to compete now, and again, Amari Cooper, at these points in both of their careers, really, just what do you think is their situation like?
Yeah, as far as Davante Adams, I feel like I can kind of predict this pretty well, actually. If he doesn't follow Rodgers, I think there's a decent chance he follows Rodgers because he was really building the chemistry back with Rodgers at the end of the year last year.
I agree.
I feel like if he doesn't follow Rodgers, which could clearly be, it won't be the Raiders. Could be like the Giants. He could go there, or could be Pittsburgh, but I think that's unlikely. I think they're going to get their quarterback before Monday. But yeah, I think the other spots I could see Davante are out west in LA, the Niners, or I could see the Chargers. Chargers are really looking into DK right now, and if they don't get him, if the price is too high, I could definitely see them getting Davante because they have 2 young guys right now. I could feel like he could be the veteran, and I think Davante, I think he still has it, and he's not going to get a ton of money.
I agree, and about what you said, following Rodgers, do you think that Davante signs somewhere first, and would that influence possibly what Aaron Rodgers does in his career? It's kind of hard to say right now.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. That's very interesting. I didn't think about it like that. But that could very well happen because I feel like Davante, there's going to be more interest clearly in him than Rodgers at this point in their careers. So yeah, I mean, I could definitely see it, depending on the situation. Because I feel like Rodgers, there's only a handful of teams that he could actually end up with, and Davante, it's probably like 10 different teams.
Like you said, though, the Giants, very quarterback needy team. They clearly show interest in Aaron Rodgers. So if Davante, signs there first, what do you think that means for Aaron Rodgers? Because clearly Aaron Rodgers wants Davante Adams on his team. When Davante Adams asked out of Vegas, Aaron Rodgers was there for him and said, "Hey, let's just come rejoin me. Clearly you're my wide receiver 1. I want you with me throughout my career." So again, does that mean that Aaron Rodgers comes? Probably. But I can definitely see the Giants pursuing.
Yeah, I think the Giants is very interesting, and I think that might be truly the best, as far as Rodgers especially, the best place for him to go if it's not Pittsburgh. I could see them getting Rodgers and getting a young guy to sit behind him at number 3 and trying to build around it, build for the future.
I agree. Let's move on now to Amari Cooper. 31 years old, going to be 32 very soon. What does his future look like? To be honest, kind of underwhelming with the Bills. He wanted that quarterback that he's been wishing for, supposedly. Hasn't really had an outstanding season since Dallas. So what does that look like for him?
Yeah, I think he's at a point in his career where he's clearly not the same player. He kind of reminds me of D-Hop, where they're clearly going downhill, as we can all see. And yeah, I mean, the Bills, I don't know, you don't know, but clearly, as we said, he wasn't very productive. So I could definitely see them moving on. And if he does move on, or whether he does or not, I don't see him getting much money. I'm guessing no more than 15 for sure. I would say likely a little less even.
I was gonna
Cooper.
say, in my opinion, even that is high.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I was going highball there, but
I could see a team like just. I really can't see any team
giving him like anything.
giving him money like that. If he still wants to play football,
like $8 million,
he's gonna have to take like close to a vet minimum contract.
Yeah.
You know, again, that's one of those guys. Is that another like Allen Robinson situation?
Where it's, like,
I personally think yes. Amari Cooper is a prime example of possibly what could happen or what has happened with like Allen Robinson and guys like that. So
yeah, the fact that he couldn't succeed with Josh Allen, the MVP, I think that should tell everyone around the league where he's at. So.
I think Shakir definitely took over that offense along with Keon Coleman. Those young guys.
Yeah.
Just no room for Amari Cooper in their offense, and again, not much left in the tank. So where he could go, I could definitely see him taking like a vet minimum for a contending team.
Like the Chiefs even maybe.
Yeah, just ring chasing, hoping that there's something left in the tank. But again, what does that do? So, all right, guys, that's going to be the end of today's video. We truly hope that you did enjoy today's first episode of Heat Check Podcast. Again, it's going to be a very exciting one for the next couple weeks, especially free agency coming Monday, finalizations on Wednesday. So, and draft coming up. It's definitely going to be a fun one.
Yeah, drop your guys' comments below, and if you have any different predictions or if you agree with us, let us know, and let us know if you like the content, and we're going to continue to make it if so.
And without any further ado, we out!